Hey everybody, this is Pastor Hugo. I'm pastor of St. Matthew in Columbia Heights, Minnesota. We're reading through the book of Mark this summer. We're calling it Resting and Growing in Mark. This week we are in chapter 11. Some interesting things going on in chapter 11. I want to offer just a little bit of commentary on one section of it to give you something to think about this week. Many of you perhaps have seen the movie Home Alone. Little Kevin McAllister accidentally is left home alone while his family goes on a trip around Christmas time. And there's one scene where Kevin says, "This is my house. I have to defend it." I was thinking about that this week as I read Jesus going into the temple. He goes in the temple. I'll read a couple of verses from Mark 11, verse 15 and following. He entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold and bought the temple. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And he was teaching them, saying to them, "Is it not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations'? But you've made it a den of robbers." We've seen Jesus' authority pointed out quite a bit in Mark's gospel. Several times we've seen people amazed at his teaching because he taught as one with authority. We've seen the disciples amazed at his authority when he calmed the winds and the waves, when he walked on the water. And now that authority is being manifest in a new way. It's an authority that's being manifest against the religion of the day, the Hebrew people, the Jewish people. And he goes into the temple, the most magnificent structure of the day, the place where worship is intended, the place where God's name dwells. And it's his house, and he has to defend his house. And so he drives out all those ones and all those things that are getting in the way of what God does with his house. And the response of the people later in the chapter is they want to know what authority he has. And he won't answer them. He gives them a question that they can't answer, and they refuse to answer. And he says, "Then neither will I answer you." And, this is the point in the story where I want Jesus to say, "This is my house. I'm going to defend it. This is my house." There was stuff going on in the church that was never part of God's plan. It was hurting the people. And so Jesus changed it. He got rid of it. He was angry. He was indignant. And he took it upon himself to make the change. Here's something I want you to think about this week. No matter where you go to church, there's probably things that you could do to improve it. I'm sure there's things that you could do to improve your church, whether that's St. Matthew or some other church. Figure out one thing you can do to improve the church, and then just do it. Just do it. This is God's house. Let's make it the way God wants. Find one thing to do to improve your church and do it. Have a great week.